The nation's governors have come to Washington bringing their wish list for items like infrastructure and their questions about how the president's policies will affect people back in their states. Joining me now, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, chair of the Republican Governors Association, and Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, a Democrat and chair of the National Governors Association. Gentlemen, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks for having us.
Let's start big. President Trump's first month in office. Governor McAuliffe, how's he doing?
Not great for Virginia, I can tell you, as the governor of the Commonwealth. Not happy about the federal hiring freeze. Very concerned about health care. Could cost literally hundreds of thousands of Virginians their health care. Very concerned. Very concerned about the travel ban. I've been very vocal on that, and concerned about what ICE officers are now doing, randomly stopping people in the Commonwealth.
All right, we're going to dig down into a few of those in a minute. Governor Walker, big picture. You had lunch with the president yesterday at the White House. What did you talk about?
Health care. You know, it's a concern we all have. I mean, we as governors, we want personalized, patient-centered health care that treats people not like a number, but like a human being. And I think that's a common sense that we want, and certainly something the president talked and was very interested in. As I came back, in fact, Terry and I and others were listening to his Secretary of Health and Human Services. I'm hopeful we'll have a plan that goes beyond repeal and gets to a replace and reform plan that helps all the people in Wisconsin, Virginia, everywhere else.
The reason I want you here is to drill down on parts of the Trump agenda and how it's going to affect people in your states. Let's start with Obamacare repeal and replace. And we should point out, Governor McAuliffe, that in your state, even though you're a Democratic governor, you couldn't expand Medicaid as part of it because the Republican legislature blocked you. What are you concerned about in terms of replacement?
Well, first of all, in Virginia, we did not do it. We have forfeited $7.9 billion, Chris. I could have had 400,000 individuals get health care, could have created 30,000 new jobs. But my concern going forward is if we just eliminate the ACA, it costs the Virginia budget $200 million per year. I lose $157 million pharmaceutical reimbursements right off the bat. So I'm very concerned about how we do this going forward. We don't like grants. If you're going to block grants, we're going to have a set number. And what happens if we have a recession? What happens if the stock market goes down? We at the state level will have to incur those costs. I'm very worried about the per capita rate. So these are big issues. But Scott's right. We're here for the governors. You know, I serve as chair of the governors. We have 46, our biggest crowd ever. We want to work together. We want to get everybody quality health care. We want personalized medicine. I agree with Scott. People need to be treated like individuals in dignity and not a number, but the devil's in the details.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the details, Governor Walker. And I want to put up some numbers because more than 200,000 people in Wisconsin have gained coverage under Obamacare. The uninsured rate in your state has fallen by 39%. What happens if some of those people lose health care coverage under repeal and replace?
Actually, ours is a model of exactly what will happen under the replace and reform. I didn't take the expansion.
Right.
I didn't take...
But you had your own system.
I'm not a state exchange. No, ours is exactly what you want to model it on going forward. For the first time ever, even without an Obamacare expansion, I cover everyone living in poverty. 100% coverage for people living in poverty. Never happened, Democrat, Republican governor ever before. For those above, we help transition them into the marketplace. To me, that's the goal. As governors, for years, we've said not just in health care.
But can you guarantee that all of those 200,000 people are going to keep coverage?
Well, we have under our plan, we have one of the lowest rates of uninsured. In fact, one of the highest rates of overall insured in the nation because we used reforms to help get people into the marketplace and to make things work there. I think that's exactly what we want as a nation. Governors are more effective. They're more efficient. They're more accountable. For years, governors have said, give us the tools, not just on health care, but on education, transportation, other issues. Now's our chance to do it. We just need to make sure that each of our states, who are very unique, not only the Commonwealth of Virginia and Wisconsin, but all 50 states and their territories are unique, we can make it work if governors work together with a president and a House that I hope will be receptive.
Okay, let's turn to another subject, and that's tax reform. Governor McAuliffe, what do you think of the idea that Republicans, particularly in the House, are pushing of a border adjustment tax? And generally, what do you think of President Trump's talk about renegotiating trade deals?
The border tax is a disaster for the economy. I mean, you look at Virginia, we're a big ag state.
Let me just quickly point out, border adjustment tax, you would tax imports coming in, you wouldn't tax exports going out.
And let's be very clear. Countries around the globe are not going to sit there and wait for this. They will reciprocate immediately against the United States of America. I'm a big trade state. I've been on 22 trade missions to dozens of countries. Our economy is very strong today, Chris. When I became governor, unemployment was 5.4. We got it all the way to 3.7, 185,000 new jobs. Why? We're trading around all over the globe. If we treat countries like this, they're going to reciprocate against that. I've disagreed with some in my party. You give me a fair trade deal, protect worker rights, protect environmental rights. We in America can crush anybody around the globe. We will win this argument. But if we start putting walls up around our states and our country, it's a global economy. 95% of the world's customers, Chris, live outside the United States of America. We can't just trade with ourselves to grow our economies.
Let me bring Governor Walker in this. Your state exported $22 billion in goods to foreign markets in 2015. Are you worried about if you set up border taxes, you set up border trade deal, you get out of some of these trade deals, that it's going to hurt that?
We want good trade. We want it to be fair, and we want it to be free. We want to have trade with all the different countries you talked about. We want to make sure that if a Harley Davidson is sold in Japan or China, it's treated the same way that a Kawasaki or Toyota might be sold if it's coming into the state of Wisconsin or any other state in the United States out there. So fair and free trade go hand in hand. But I think the other issue that the House and the Senate really need to focus in on, certainly the President's talking about, is let's just bring the employer tax rate down so that it's comparable with the rest of the industrialized world. Succeeded. Our state employed more people last year than ever before. Why? Because we got government out of the way. We lowered the tax burden. In fact, by the time my budget's done, in 8 years, we have cut taxes by more than $8 billion.
Let me ask McAuliffe about that. I mean, wouldn't lowering corporate tax rates and making them more competitive with the rest of the world be a good idea?
Oh, do I think we need tax reform? Absolutely. The more we can reform taxes, put more money into people's pockets so they can spend more, is by far the single biggest stimulus we can do for our economy today. We definitely, let's bring back this overseas money, repatriate this money that's overseas. Let's bring it back to America. We got to make it attractive to the individuals and the CEOs and the shareholders to bring the money back. But of course we ought to do that. And this is my point. These are the big issues that I wish President Trump would focus on. He ran on jobs. Right now in Virginia, he's hurting me on jobs. Let's go back to focus on what we do in Virginia every day, growing and diversifying our economy into cybersecurity, solar, all the renewable energies, biotech. That's how you grow economies. 4.25 million workers in Virginia, the most ever.
I want to move on to another subject. Okay. Governor Walker, you opposed candidate Trump's Muslim ban during the campaign. Is the new order that we understand the president is going to sign this week, is that in effect a cleaned up version of the same Muslim travel ban?
No.
And how do you feel also about DHS's stepped up enforcement of immigration?
No, it's not, because if it was, it wouldn't be limited to those countries. It's very much aligned with where there's a safety concern. You know, under President Obama, all of us governors, NG actually set it up.
You got the DHS saying the country of citizenship doesn't, the citizenship country doesn't, is not a reliable indicator of terrorism.
But all of the governors who were on when President Obama was in place, when they started bringing in refugees en masse from Syria, got on a call with the head of the Department of Homeland Security, and were very concerned, even including many Democrats, saying, what kind of certainty do we have to know, particularly after in light of what's happened in Europe, that there's been a good system of vetting and understanding who's coming into our respective states? That's what we're asking for. Now, do they need to modify and adjust it? Possibly. But going forward, if the objective is to make sure that safety is paramount, and that's really what we're all about. At the local, state, and federal level, more than anything else, we're responsible to our citizens for the safety of our fellow citizens. That's what it should be about. It shouldn't be about religion. Shouldn't be about anything else. It should ultimately be about safety.
Governor McAuliffe, first of all, is this travel order, is it about religion? And secondly, your thoughts about stepped-up deportations.
Well, it's very disconcerting. People think it's about religion and they think it's about geography, and that's very damaging to our economy. I go back, this is not helping us create jobs. I was out at Dulles Airport within 12 hours.
Oh, I mean, wait a minute. If you're protecting the country, I mean, doesn't that come before jobs?
Chris, let's be very clear. Everybody's for protecting the country. We have a very vigorous program in the United States of America to check two-year process on refugees and other related visas. Let's be clear. We're all in agreement. We want to keep our country safe. But there is a very fine line. I went out to Dulles Airport. I was probably the first elected official out of the box because I was tipped off. There was a family there detained for hours, 2 children, U.S. passports, no access to legal counsel. So I went out and I said, I'm the governor. This airport's in my state. I want to know why they're being detained. I'm very concerned, and I'm meeting with General Kelly in the next hour to talk about how this ICE enforcement is going on, because let's go back to the economy. If we are randomly going to stop people on the streets, Chris, let me tell you, it is going to drive people underground. They're not going to seek health care. They're not going to work with law enforcement. 32.5% of the economy in Northern Virginia, small business, is by foreign-owned businesses. We are scaring people. Discrimination breeds hatred, and we got to stop it. Let's work together. Of course we want to be safe.
I think part of that is, and you see it not only amongst elected officials, but in the media, it's one thing to say, it's another thing to see what the facts are. I'm glad we're going to have that discussion later, because I think it's important for all of us as governors, elected officials, to know what exactly is it.
I got 30 seconds left, and given what you were just saying, Governor McAuliffe, you're only allowed to serve one term in Virginia. That term ends at the end of this year. You say that the only thing you'd be interested in, I love the look you're giving me, is an executive job. Would you think about running against Donald Trump in 2020?
I have 11 months left as the governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. We have had tremendous success diversifying and growing our economy. I am going to finish up. I have no intentions of running against Donald Trump. I want to finish up strong. I'm telling you, Chris, Virginia's first governor, Patrick Henry, second governor, Thomas Jefferson, and now Terry McAuliffe. What a great job I have.
That's right.
What a great country. What a great country.
Yeah, and one of them ended up as president. Governor Walker, Governor McAuliffe, thank you.